It's officially been 6 years. And now the new Five Nights at Treasure Island game is out. Now you're probably wondering what you're doing here, and that's to look at the story of the games, isn't it? Now, before we look into the story of these games, it's important to ask the question, what game are we going to be looking at? The very first original game? All the games by Photo Negative Mickey? Or are we going to be looking at the most recent one that was released? Well, we're just going to look at the most recent one that was released because it's the recent one and that's what you're all here for. It's also the official one. The story itself starts out with you, the main character, Jake Smith. You're pretty much a university student who joined you pretty much joined the SSA through an educational program because lack of money. And they've given you a rather strange assignment. Now, this is, of course, the notorious Treasure Island, abandoned Disney resort, to collect data. And then that's the start of the game. Through the nights, you'll get phone calls telling you what's happening, and one of the workers there, Henry, tells you that he's pretty much lost inside the pirate caverns and he needs help. It cuts out. Then the next part of the nights, and more characters get added. One of them being Undying. We'll get to him later. And pretty much the night 5 phone call is a bunch of garbled mess. This is when we get to night 6, where the phone call is actually Henry, who comes back and he's like, "Hey, let's go down to the vault where I know the code." He says it on the phone, and then that's when Hourglass comes. Now, after this night, you beat Hourglass, and you pretty much go down back to the pirate caverns and put in the code. Now, there is a lot, and then after that, fuck you. This then leads to a mascot called Mother, jump scaring you. And then another pair of eyes appears in the corner once you open the vault with the code provided. So what exactly happened in this story, or what was going on? Well, I'll explain the theories I have. Now, the first theory that most people have is that Undying is Henry. Well, this has been true in many other interpretations of the Five Nights in Treasure Island stories. I don't think it's true here. There's a lot of stuff leading to it, but if we listen to the phone calls, you know that Undying has been actually around, because you go to the pirate caverns at night 3, I think, from what I remember. And one of the things that happens is that Henry's talking. If he was Undying, he wouldn't be able to talk unless he was possessed. Undying themselves is actually a person who's pretty much stuffed in a mascot suit, so he's Undying. And the person who shoved him in the mascot suit, we can assume is Mother from older interpretations of the games. We see that happen. Instead, I would like to say, because there's also in the older games, Henry wasn't Undying. He was actually a yellow blob of a humanoid. The possible explanation for this is that the Henry was actually sending you audio recordings, and you were actually being played back recordings, and that they aren't actually live. Now, I was going to say that the Hourglass was it was the fusion of all the other mascots. Now, this has actually happened in the older games before, and I think there was some Undertale boss fight one time. But it would make more sense because from what I've seen in the older story, you were actually hired after Henry went missing. So, it's probably Mother playing back the audio recordings to lure Jake into the vault so she can also make him Undying. because in the other stories, Jake survives, but in this one, he goes back to the vault and opens it. Now, we're going to have to, because Corruptus, in the older stories from what we've seen, is actually the fusion of all of them, but that's not what, that the fusion in this game is actually Hourglass. The 2017 remake actually does show Henry being undying, from what I remember, but most of the information we have is outdated, which is the problem. There's no wiki pages or YouTube videos, which is why I'm making one right now. The gameplay right now is from Fusion Z Gamer because my PC was running into issues and I couldn't record it. But also, if Fusion is watching this, please play Five Nights at Fredbear's remastered Free Roam 2. Please, I beg of you. Enough of the self-inserting gay. Let's go back to the topic. In the previous games, Mother was actually known as God. Yes, a white female figure who was seeming to give life to the mascots. And that's what I'm interpreting from the final cutscene, that Mother is keeping the island alive. Now, beating the hardest customite mode will give you a secret ending where it shows a door that says D.I. That means Discovery Island, another place that was shut down by Disney. So we can only assume the next game will be Discovery Island. I mean, before, the previous sequel for this game was The End of Disney, which was very fucking disturbing with what they had. A lot of the other games are kind of questionable with quality or in the story. But I've been a fan of these games since I remember watching Risk Rim's first video of Five Nights at Treasure Island and just being so scared of the jump scare sound, which is what I laugh at now, funnily enough. But it was really nostalgic to me to look back at this, and there's even a classic mode too. But anyways, what I'm pretty much saying is the story is pretty simple. Jake gets the job, he spends the night there. Henry, well, to replace Henry, he goes, Hourglass comes, Mother plays one of the audio recordings that Henry must have made, and she lures Jake in and makes him a mascot. That's what I assume. I might go into the story of other games, but this is probably what I want to do right now, because, you know, why not? And, yeah, so, that shall sum it up for this video. I might make some other videos later. I know my channel's all over the place with my content, and I have no consistency, but it's all good. I'll see you peeps later. Goodbye.